Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar with Florcita. My name is Emily. I'm the Senior Campaign Lead here at Birchal. And just before I introduce you to Pat and Louise, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that I'm coming to you from today. Birchal is based on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. So as you can see, today I am joined by Pat and Louise from Florcita. Birchal is working with them on their upcoming crowdsource funding offer. You might be asking, what is crowdsource funding, or CSF, or you might know it as equity crowdfunding, but it's a relatively new form of fundraising here in Australia, which started in about 2018, and it allows startups and small businesses to raise capital from a large number of smaller or retail investors, as well as wholesale and sophisticated investors through an online platform such as Birchal. So instead of seeking funding from traditional sources such as banks or venture capitalists, companies can turn to the general public, and often that's their communities, to raise money in exchange for equity in their business. Birchal Financial Services will be the licensed intermediary for this offer, and I would like to remind everybody who's here today that the information and discussion in this webinar is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice or a recommendation to invest. So please do your own research and always consider the offer document and general CSF risk warning before investing. If you do need any more information, or if you've got any questions surrounding equity crowdfunding, please head over to birchal.com. Now, how today's session is going to run, Pat and Louise will take us through a great presentation all about Florcita, where they've come from and what they're looking to achieve with their cap raise, and then we'll switch to a Q&A session. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A bubble. So if you've got any questions during today's session, please pop it in that box as we go along, and we'll endeavour to answer as many as possible during the Q&A time at the end. I'm also recording today's session, so if you do need to jump off early, or if you'd like to send this to somebody who you think might be interested in the offer, a link will be sent around afterwards. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Pat and Louise.
Great. Thanks so much, Emily. And hello, everyone. Really, really excited to be here today. To introduce myself, my name's Pat Neal. I'm the founder and director of Florcita Tequila, and with me is my wife and better half, who is also founder and director. So we are, again, very excited to sort of share with you today a little bit about what we've been up to and what we're about. We've sort of identified that we've got a really great opportunity when it comes to tequila in Australia. And we want to talk through sort of what that looks like, and sort of a little bit more of our product range, as well as a little bit about tequila and sort of where that comes from in Mexico. So with that, I will get underway. And then, as Emily said as well, if you do have any questions, any small or big questions, no question is silly, please add it into the chat box and we'll try and answer as much as we possibly can for you. So why tequila? Well, I guess we looked at what problem we were trying to solve. I think as, spirit and beverage enthusiasts, both Louise and myself sort of enjoy a nice cocktail out. But what we have noticed is there's a mass saturation of spirits such as vodka and gin on the market at the moment. I think if you go to your local bottle shop, you'll see countless rows of vodkas, gins, but not so many tequila. So we sort of looked into tequila as somewhat undervalued in Australia, and we wanted to sort of explore what that looked like a little bit more and what that could look like for the Australian market. One of the things we did take away was that the current perception of tequila, as I'm sure you might be aware, is it's one of those shots at the end of the night, either to finish off a good night or forget one. So we wanted to try and change that perception as well once we identified that tequila was the spirit for us. We then looked at ready-to-drink range, or the RTD range, and we saw from a tequila perspective, there's quite a limited range or options available on the market there. And those that are quite often excessively sweet and artificial tasting. And so we wanted to go about sort of changing that. And so that brought us to create Florcita Tequila. We position ourselves as an innovative tequila drinks company, poised to capitalize on some of the above opportunities, as we mentioned, within the Australian market. We've prioritized quality above all else in the spirit, liqueur, and premix range that we have created. We wanted to showcase the true essence of agave and the tequila that we've been able to source from Mexico with our partners over there. And we're going to target consumers seeking premium, high-quality cocktails that raise the bar, excuse the pun there. So the opportunity, we're seeking your investment to raise up to $400,000 through this crowdsourced funding investment round. So we use that towards production costs, sales and marketing, and working capital. Some of our key achievements to date, and something that we're really proud of, is we've been able to secure an Australian exclusivity agreement with our partner over in Mexico, the Garcia Ramirez family. They have a distillery about an hour out of Guadalajara in the region of Jalisco, which is where tequila comes from. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, but we're super excited to have secured that, which means that you won't find anything else like our tequila on the market over here in Australia. We've been able to conduct R&D, research and development, and create 6 unique product lines. So one of those, of course, is our Tequila Blanco, but we also have our coffee liqueur and coffee tequila, as well as our 3 RTD sparkling margaritas in the original lime flavor with watermelon and passion fruit as well. And in the limited time that we have reached out to businesses, we've had over 50 expressions of interest pre-launch currently, and that was through the Fine Food Festival that we recently attended in Melbourne in September. So I guess you're wondering as well what our plans are for the future. Well, we've got many. We certainly want to grow through our product range that we've created, the growth of our D2C, our direct-to-consumer and wholesale markets. So we'll sort of range our products online, D2C, as well as then approach bars, restaurants and bottle shops from a wholesale perspective as well, for eventually partnering with wholesale distributors like Paramount, for example. We then want to look to expand our range probably into 2026, and we're very conscious not to launch too much too early, but we do see a great opportunity as well in the cocktail range, which I think is becoming its own segment in what's called ready to serve. So you might go to your local you might go to your local bar, should I say, and you'll see a lot of pre-mixed cocktails available, which is just pour over ice. And we think that sort of the home consumers certainly are very keen to explore that, and so are we. And we're certainly not blind to the fact that zero alcohol is doing big things across a variety of different beverages, of course, as well. So we'll look to sort of explore that. And then we'll look from a tequila range perspective to bring in the likes of a Reposado, hopefully by the middle of next year, and a Nejo, which is probably 18 to 36 months away. And just to explain a little bit about sort of what that looks like, I guess a Blanco is tequila in its most sort of raw form. It sort of comes out as a white, clear liquid once it's all been distilled. A Reposado is barreled and sort of aged for about 3 months. So it sort of starts to turn a little bit more yellow and golden. And then a Nejo is aged in generally French oak barrels for 1 to 3 years generally, and provides a much more complex flavor. And so we're certainly excited to explore that down the track as well. And so why tequila? Well, firstly, I guess if we zoom out and look at the RTD cocktail market globally, it was currently 1.1 billion as of 2023, and it's predicted to grow at a compound average growth rate of 14.2%, which is massive up until 2030. So there's big things happening in the RTD space. And then if we zoom into tequila, well, the Australian market itself is expected to see a massive boom based on what's happening in both the US and Europe, with roughly 7 to 9% growth expected up until 2027. And you compare that to the rest of the spirits range, it's only 2%. So there's a massive growth expected, both internationally, but then more so in Australia as well. And so a little bit more about myself. So as I mentioned before, my name is Pat Neal. I've got a decade of commercial experience in the FMCG sector in various roles of operations, buying, project management and logistics. Most recently, I was the National Customer Experience Lead for Aldi, the supermarket, of course, as well, and recently completed an MBA at UNSW. So I guess with that experience, knowledge and a passion for quality and customer experience and having experience in food and beverage, I guess we wanted to pursue a venture of our own that really sort of struck home for us and was something that we're really passionate about, which is going out, having a great time and sort of resonating that through what is now our tequila brand. So with that, I'll hand over to my wife, Louise, to give you a little bit more of an update as to herself, of course, and then a little bit more about our tequila and our range.
Thank you. And yeah, it's great to be able to be here and share a bit more about Florcita with everybody. So as Pat mentioned, I'll go through a little bit more information about our tequila and also our market strategy in a moment, but I'll start off also with a little bit about myself. So my background is that I have a PhD in psychology. So I really love learning and understanding about the intricacies of human and consumer behaviour. So that seems probably like a bit of an unusual background for a venture like this, but it actually really pairs extremely well with Pat's extensive experience in this area. And I think it really brings a unique perspective to our brand as well, particularly given our focus on customer experience. I think it also helps that I really love a good margarita, so that's definitely helped to shape where the brand is today. So A bit more about our tequila and a little bit about our journey. So once we did land on tequila as being something that we wanted to pursue, we really set out to find a high quality tequila that would help us to achieve what we wanted to do. The tequilas available in Australia most commonly don't necessarily reflect the full breadth and quality that Mexico has to offer. And so, as Pat mentioned before, that led us to partner with the Garcia Ramirez family. So they run a small distillery in the town of Zapotlan del Rey. And that particular town and that area is not particularly well known for its tequila. So the soil properties in that area are more known for growing things like corn and a little bit of blue Weber agave, which is what can be used to make tequila. But it's not as well known to distill tequila in that particular area as it is for other areas in the state of Jalisco, which is where Zapotlan del Rey is in. And so due to those soil properties, it really makes for quite a unique flavour of our tequila. And originally, to be honest, we actually just set out to do the ready-to-drink pre-mixed sparkling margarita range, which I'll introduce you to a little bit more in a moment. But what we found was that the tequila, when we sampled it, was so great that we not only decided to really hero the tequila in our sparkling margaritas, but we also decided to bottle it. The tequila itself, just to give you a bit of a picture of it, gives quite unique notes of things like raw agave. It's quite fruity with some pear and green apple, some citrus, and it has quite a floral end note of jasmine and lavender with a little balance of white pepper in there as well. And quite interestingly, when you drink the tequila, those notes all really come together and it's really easy to pick up on a lot of those flavors. And some of the feedback that we've been received to date by people who've tried our tequila, but perhaps aren't usually into tequila, is that it actually changes their perception and they really comment on the smoothness when they drink it. So again, we wanted to make sure that we really had a specific target market in mind as we launch. So particularly given that we want to focus on customer experience and we really need to know who we're targeting. So our primary target audience are 25 to 50 years old, and there are sort of two segments that come under that. So the first segment is mid to senior career professionals. So this group of people tend to have a bit of a higher disposable income. They really value time-saving solutions, particularly given they have quite a fast-paced lifestyle. They're well-travelled, so they really like recreating that holiday feeling at home, prefer easy drinking, but they also want quality and convenient solutions for entertaining. The second segment that we're targeting are younger professionals. So these people tend to have a medium disposable income. They're a bit more influenced perhaps by social media and online trends, but are also open to trying new products. Again, they prefer convenience and tend to be a bit more environmentally conscious as well. In terms of our go-to-market strategy, we are really positioning Florcita as a tequila drinks company. So we aren't a distiller. We don't make the tequila here in Australia, but we do want to be a destination for the complete customer experience. So what that means is engaging on social media and our website, and that is our intention. And for example, that could be things like showcasing what you can do with our tequila, including recipes for cocktails. So what we hope and what we aim for that to translate into is a bottle of tequila that's going to be used and consumed rather than sitting at the back of a shelf in a bar or at home. So in terms of then our plan on actually getting it to market, our website, which you can check out at the moment, and we'll have links to that as well, but our website is direct to consumer. So people will be able to purchase online. And we're also starting to build business relationships at retail outlets, bars and restaurants. And we have, as Pat mentioned earlier, some future plans for partnering with wholesale distributors as well. So really the scope of direct to consumer, but also business to business. In terms of sales and marketing, we plan to have a big focus on trends via social media. And as I spoke to a little bit before, also having content and material that really encourages people to use and experiment with our tequila. We really also, in that way, want to drive repeat customer purchase as well. And so now to talk sort of about our range explicitly. So this is our Blanco tequila. And I guess a unique part of our brand, which we're really proud of, is that we bottle here in Australia, but we are fully certified by the regulatory governing body in Mexico as registered distributors of tequila. So that's why we're able to call it tequila. And without that certification, it would need to be labelled as an agave spirit rather than a tequila. So we're really proud to have gone through that process and get that certification. And I think that also really speaks to the authenticity of the product as well. Some initial feedback that we've heard as well is that people quite like that the product itself is very authentic and it's distilled in Mexico, but we bottle it here in Australia. So it kind of combines the best of both worlds. Also part of our range are our Flor de Noche coffee liqueur and coffee tequila. So Flor de Noche means night flower or flower of the night in Spanish. And it's a bit of an homage to our brand, but also a bit of an homage to a traditional nightcap. But in saying that, our coffee tequila range is really delicious at any time of the day. It's very drinkable. And particularly if you're a coffee lover, I think that this appeals to a really broad market. So we have two options here, as I mentioned. So our coffee liqueur is 25% and coffee tequila at 35%. And both of these really balance the smooth tequila flavour from our Blanco, but also pair it with bold coffee notes. And obviously our 35% brings through the flavour of the tequila a little bit more than the 25%. But of note, I guess, is that in order to be called coffee tequila, a minimum of 35% alcohol by volume is required. So that's why I guess there's this distinction between our coffee liqueur and coffee tequila. We have also benchmarked these products against some of our competitors in the premium tequila space. So all of this information will be available in the offer document for people who are interested to look through it in a bit more detail. And I will note as well that in entering this space, we do have a great level of respect against our competitors, for all of our competitors. But I guess what's important to note is that we really are trying to be quite competitive in terms of our unit pricing of our alcohol volume. And you can see how that sort of stacks up here. And also that we are sort of filling a gap in the market for coffee tequila as well. So particularly as Cafe Patron, people might know about that or remember that, and it was very popular, but is no longer available. So there are sort of limited options on the market at the moment for coffee tequila. Here is our pre-mixed ready-to-drink sparkling margarita range. So these are really fun and vibrant, and they are 6.5% alcohol, and they come in a 345 ml glass bottle. And I think that really adds to the premium feel of this product as well, and pairs, again, really nicely with our Tequila Blanco. So the flavours that we have, these will be available in classic lime, passion fruit and watermelon flavours, and there's a lot of scope to really expand on this range as time goes on as well. And lastly, again, we did some benchmarking against our competitors in the ready-to-drink space, and our sparkling margaritas really stack up as having the best value in terms of alcohol unit price. And we're also notably the only brand to be using a glass bottle. So this not only elevates, as I mentioned, the sort of feel as you're drinking our product as compared to a can, but it actually also provides greater shelf life and overall quality, which speaks to our focus on quality as well as a brand. So that was all of our presentation, and really appreciate everybody listening, and we would be very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't unmute myself before I started speaking. If you just wanted to stop sharing your screen so we can see your faces, that would be absolutely amazing. Thank you so, so much. So from what you've achieved to date, what would you say the key differences are between yourselves and competitors in the market?
Really interesting question. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. I think what we are really proud of probably is the as close to natural flavors that we've been able to achieve with our RTDs. If we go down the RTD path first, I think as I mentioned at the beginning, quite often our RTDs in the Australian market are artificially tasting. They don't quite marry up to the descriptor. And so we really went out to not only hero our tequila, but make sure that the flavors that we were embodying actually tasted like the flavors that you wanted to represent. And without being biased, we've been able to achieve a watermelon taste that tastes like watermelon, and a passion fruit that tastes like actual passion fruit, and similar to the original flavor as well. And I think when we do taste this, and we're super excited to get it to the market, there's just depths of and layers which I think are really notable in terms of making you want to have another sip to keep drinking as well. So I think what we've been able to achieve from a product perspective has been fantastic. And I mentioned the exclusivity agreement. The quality of the tequila that we've been able to bring to Australia is very, very high quality. And when I say high quality, most of the mass-produced tequilas don't necessarily use traditional oven roasting, which is quite often a longer and sort of more manual process to achieve sort of more distinct organic taste. So we've been able to really sort of work with the Garcia Ramirez family there in Zappa and Del Rey to bring in a tequila that we're very proud of course, as well. And as Louise mentioned, we are bottling in Australia, but the tequila itself is 100% blue agave. We are legally not able to call it 100% due to the fact that we are bottling in Australia. We're certainly open to bottling in Mexico and getting that 100%, but the quality is certainly there. So we have prioritized, being part of the Australian economy from a bottling and production perspective, but also bringing into the market a tequila, I think, that rivals any of the other Don Julios that you may be aware of as well. And I think proof's in the pudding. So as soon as we're able to get to the market, you'll certainly be able to taste the difference. So I think that's probably our biggest competitive advantage compared to our competitors and what we've been able to achieve.
Great, thank you. So obviously Australia has quite high taxes on spirits. How do you tackle that when approaching, making the product affordable for customers, but then also making a profit for yourselves?
That's a great question. I think, and to put in context, for every litre of pure alcohol that a distiller or tequila drinks company like ourselves sends to the market, it costs $101.85 for the supply. So you see that drinks in Australia are significantly more expensive because of that. And it's quite a challenge. We're not going to lie that we don't have as high a profit percentage as, say, international drinks companies in the US and in Europe, etc., because of the taxes. But we're respectful for the taxes and why they're in place, and sort of we would sort of go about our way to make sure we pay them accordingly, of course. But it certainly adds a layer of complexity that not other countries have to handle. Then saying that, I think what we really are trying to do is minimise our operational costs where possible, at least in the interim. And that's why we've brought our tequila in bulk, and we bring it in 1,000-litre IBC pallets, rather than bottling in Mexico where we add additional overheads, which would then just go into the top line. So setting a recommended retail at $79.99 for our Blanco, we've actually gone through a rigorous, probably 12-month process to get signed off in terms of being certified in Australia to sell tequila, as well as then also bottle it over here, of course, as well. And it's, I think when we first decided to go down this path, we sort of underestimated a little bit as to how much paperwork, admin, and sort of process would be required to do that. But in bringing in bulk and sort of bottling it over here, we've been able to reduce our overheads, and our intention is to make sure that we have really affordable value for money. And you probably saw that in the sort of competitive analysis table that Louise shared, that we're really proud of the fact that we've been able to produce a mix that is really, really affordable from a unit price perspective. And so that unit price looks at the total amount of alcohol in our products and benchmarks that against our retail or recommended retail. And so you're getting good value for money there as well. So if we've got happy consumers, we're happy ourselves, and that's what we've really tried to go about. But yeah, to bring it back to the initial point, excise tax is certainly challenging for many beverage businesses in Australia, of course, as well. But it's certainly our intention to work with what we've got to work with and make sure that we give the best value for money, as well as obviously looking after ourselves from the investment.
Great. Is there a reason why you haven't targeted established distribution networks in South and North America, and why you're opting to establish your own distribution network here?
It's a great question. And certainly the appeal of exporting is there, and it's certainly something we will explore. But we want to look after our own backyard first, and we're Australians through and through, and we wanted that to resonate through our brand. And that's why we've initially sort of targeted the Australian market. It also comes down to the amount of capital that would be required to target North and South American, I guess, markets, if you will, because I think it's been a significant investment in terms of getting to where we're at this stage, and that's why we're going through this crowdsource funding exercise, I think, just to give us enough capital to establish ourselves, firstly in Australia, but then hopefully, all going well, we can make some connections overseas and start to export it and get it out there. But I think it just came down to what was the most affordable way that we could launch a high quality business in Australia and then service the world. But yeah, it certainly was more a capital constraint, more so than not.
And maybe I can just add quickly that when we did take this to just recently to sort of a business to business event, and we're able to kind of showcase our tequila in that landscape, we did have quite a few people interested or expressing that they felt that this might do really well in terms of an exporting opportunity in different markets. So yeah, it's certainly on our radar, but I guess as Pat mentioned, just focusing on Australia initially until we can build things up.
Awesome, thank you. So obviously you've got a solidified product range now. Are you looking at creating more products or going into other markets?
Yes, we would love to bring a Paloma to the market. So Paloma is like a grapefruit margarita. It's traditionally the sister or the cousin cocktail to the margarita. And so we'd love to get that in sparkling form. And I think that'll finalise that sort of sparkling range. I sort of listed initially what we'd sort of look towards moving forward in terms of that ready to serve segment as well, which I think is taking off, and that sort of looks at having drinks that are around the 14 to 15% alcohol mark compared to sort of your sparkling RTDs, which are the 6.5. So it's certainly the one that you have over ice and you sip and sort of enjoy. So we'll probably look to go down the likes of, hopefully not to get people too excited, like a chili margarita. I think there's probably good value there. And then we'd like to sort of explore some different flavors that are out there at the moment. I also would like to do a tequila beer, which we've basically got the option to explore as well. But we're very conscious not to bite off more than we can chew. And the risk of launching so many SKUs is that you then lose traction. And so we're very conscious of the fact that we need to get traction with our current range and sort of build that slowly but surely before we sort of dive into launch another product and another product. But we'll certainly go out and do as much market research as we possibly can to see what our consumers are saying and see what they want. But we really want to take a methodical and measured approach to our product launches. But I think with what we've been able to achieve from being certified in Australia to use tequila gives us a great platform to explore, the likes of the cocktails and even, as I mentioned as well, the zero alcohol range. I mean, we've got so many options, and it takes a little bit of discipline not to just say, right, we're gonna launch all this all at once. But we certainly have got some grand plans for the future, of course, and hopefully through your investment we'll be able to achieve that.
Awesome. So a few questions about the producers. Do the Garcia Ramirez family have other brands of their own, or do they white label their products? And what led you to them rather than going to other places?
Yeah, they do service and white label some products internationally, but nowhere in Australia. So that's where we were able to secure the tequila there, of course, as well. And I guess we're just starting out as a tequila company, but hopefully down the track we can sort of explore what that looks like from an exclusivity perspective. And hopefully we get to the size where we're able to have that conversation. But we're super appreciative and sort of proud of the fact, as Louise mentioned, that we've got that exclusive in Australia. So yeah, you won't find anything else like our tequila in Australia, I think, in terms of the complexity of its flavors, which we're really happy with. I think in terms of, sorry, Emily, the second part of the question just came to my mind.
Why did you go to the Ramirez?
Why did we go? Of course, apologies. So we were partnered with a company called Tequila Partners, and they don't necessarily take on everyone, but Tequila Partners is sort of like a tequila broker. So being an Australian business, we didn't know any or have any connections to distillers over in Mexico. So Tequila Partners were able to partner us up with the likes of the Garcia Ramirez family. But that was over several meetings and conversations that we had with Tequila Partners before they decided to enter business with us, of course, as well. So we work with them to act on behalf. They act on behalf of the small distillery there in Zappel and Del Rey. And they do that for a number of distillers. And like think of it like the small mum and dad farms, for example. If you're selling produce, there's brokers out there that act on behalf of those. It's the same sort of in Mexico with tequila distillers. It brings companies together with distillers, which I think is really great. And we've had nothing but really sort of a great relationship with the tequila partners and Vinny over there.
Brilliant. So what are some other brands that they produce the tequila for?
We're actually, we don't actually know the names of their brands. I'm sorry, I can't answer that one for you. So I'm happy to sort of go away and see if I can find that out. And we appreciate, obviously, if we do go international, that the tequila coming from the distillery might be the same as some other companies out there, of course, as well. That's just something we have, but we actually haven't been told the names of those companies. I'm sorry, I can't answer that one for you.
No worries. So Florcita, as in little flower, gives the impression that you would have some botanicals in your flavors. Is the current trend towards fruit flavors going to continue, or will you do some botanicals?
It's an interesting one. We actually haven't explored the aspect of botanicals. Florcita came about from the idea being little flower in Spanish, and margarita in Spanish was daisy. So I was trying to pair as close to, from a name perspective there. It actually wasn't driven by the use of botanicals, but it's an interesting point. I think we've got hints of jasmine and lavender in our tequila, which we've been able to sort of highlight previously in the presentation there. But botanicals is an interesting one. Certainly happy to go and explore that, but no plans at this stage.
Sorry, I could not find my mouse to unmute. So are you relying on the Garcia Ramirez family for the product, and what happens if they stop making the product?
Yeah, absolutely. From a tequila perspective, yes, we've partnered with the Garcia Ramirez. They are what's called NOM 1571. That's their official code, and that'll be all on our packages. In the event that they stop making tequila, for example, certainly would be something that we've included this in the risk sort of section, if you will, of our offer document. So I encourage you to have a read of that when you get the opportunity to. But we would work with the likes of tequila partners to partner us up with a distiller, and we certainly would have enough notice to make sure that operations in Australia wouldn't be impacted. So it would just be a matter of going through the necessary paperwork. But we're certainly hopeful and certainly positive in the sense that they'll continue to start, because they're sort of a well-established distillery from what we can gather.
Great. And why have you decided to go down the route of equity crowdfunding versus other traditional forms of fundraising?
It's an interesting point. We certainly reached out to Birchal after sort of looking at our different options for raising capital, and we sort of had a lot of family and friends that were interested as well, and we wanted to put them through a platform that would allow us to facilitate their investment, of course, as well. But then we wanted to open it up, and like jokingly, we're sort of calling this the people's tequila. We're sick of celebrity tequilas popping up on the market. This one's for the people, of course, as well. So whilst we did sort of approach angel investors, etc., for investment, we really wanted to sort of explore the equity crowdfunding space and see what that looked like. And then we found that it aligned with our values and what we wanted to achieve from an investment perspective, whilst also being able to share what we're doing with the greater public as well, and our family and friends, which I think was really important to us.
Great. Are you offering investor rewards in this round?
No, not in this round. But in saying that, though, I will review and we will send a special email out to all our investors with a discount code for our products as well. So whilst there won't be any physical merchandise or anything, we'll look to certainly provide a discount code for purchase.
Awesome. And appreciate that there are cost savings with bottling the product in Australia, but how much do you think not having the 100% agave on the label will affect customer perception and trusting the quality?
It's an interesting one, Louise. I might have to pass to you, if that's okay, just given your experience with the Fine Foods Expo and sort of what you took away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that certainly there will be some people, like we can't guarantee that not everybody might not have, perhaps prefer to choose another option that does explicitly say that. But in general, I think I had, through hundreds of people that came through at the Fine Foods Expo, which I mentioned going to before, which is a business to business kind of quite large scale event. I think the biggest event in Australia. or in the Southern Hemisphere, possibly, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, but we had heaps of people coming through and trying the tequila and asking questions. And I think out of all of those people, I had 2 people ask me the percentage of blue agave of the product, and basically nobody else did. So I think just in that perspective, and a lot of the people that were coming through, well, pretty much everybody was representing a business, and a lot of people, you know, that would be something that you would think would be top of mind. And I think, to be honest, again, like just the tasting of it really blew people away and really changed people's perception. So I think that's where our focus on customer experience is going to be really important, and is why it's such a big part of our strategy, because bringing people in through that and then just getting them to taste our product, I think is going to be more effective than purely saying, having that on the label. If I'm honest, that's genuinely what my experience to date has been so far. But the good thing too is that by having that customer experience, and also by going out and actually selling it to businesses ourselves, we're able to have those conversations and let them know kind of the background, and that it is 100% too in that sense. So I think all of those things together we are quite aware of, and are sort of planning for that actively in our strategy.
And I'll caveat that to say it's something that I toy with probably on a daily basis as to whether we should bottle in Mexico or bottle in Australia. And the good thing is that we've got the option. So if we find that consumer preference is to that question, and we lose a little bit of faith in the product because it's not 100% on the bottle, then by all means we can partner it. But I think getting to market, it was a significant investment to bottle in Mexico compared to bottling in Australia. So I think a little bit of cost came in there. But we're committed to bottling the likes of our coffee liqueur, our coffee tequila, and our R2Ds all in Australia. That's going to remain as is. But for your Blanco, your Reposado, and your Añejo tequila, we are certainly open to bottling in Mexico should the market exception require it and require us to do so. So it's certainly an option we've got up ourselves.
Great. So, Pat, you mentioned about your FMCG experience. How complex is this product supplier distribution supply chain? And are there any major third or fourth parties supporting the supply chain that you haven't yet mentioned?
Yes, that's a fair question. So it is quite a complex supply chain in the sense that we've got our distillery there in Mexico. We then need to get the product in 1,000-litre IBCs across on a boat to Australia. We then need to, from a cost perspective, organise like a customs warehouse license as well. And we've done that with our co-packer. So we co-packer, I don't know if Louise mentioned this, we actually have a co-packer based down in Wollongong who's helped supporting Make Our Drinks, United Beverage co-packers, and they have been fantastic throughout the process, of course, as well. But we're actually shipping our tequila direct from Garcia Ramirez over there in Mexico via Henning Harders, who are sort of a customs broker, and they'll help with sort of the ex-works process from start to finish. But then in order for us to avoid paying excise and excise tax up front, which for 1,000 litres of 55% tequila, which we then will sort of reproduce down to 40%, it's roughly $50,000 to $60,000. So it's a significant chunk. And then with the amount of tequila that we need, you just need that capital up front. So that's why we've had to involve Henning Harders to help us through the ATO achieve a customs warehouse license at our co-packer so that we can store under excise control our tequila and use as we need to minimise costs, of course, as well. So it's been quite complex to A, figure that out, and then B, put those plans in place. But we're in a position now where we're ready to go. And yeah, in 2025, it's full steam ahead. But yeah, not the easiest setup from a supply chain perspective.
Good to know. So in terms of traction to date and next steps, how fast will it be before people will be able to purchase the tequilas in store or at a bar?
Yeah, absolutely. We're aiming for March next year as being ready to available to purchase on our website, of course, as well. And then we will have a really, I want to say positively aggressive approach to market in terms of trying to get into bars, restaurants and liquor shops as best we can. That is all contingent upon this capital raise, and that's why it sort of was really happy that we've had so much positive reception regarding this in regards to that, because it'll allow us to either launch all our RTDs and our range, or it just depends on how much we're able to raise during this particular round. But we certainly will get to market with our tequila blanco and our coffee tequila at an absolute minimum March next year. But hopefully, with a successful raise, we'll be able to bring in one, if not all three RTDs as well at March. If not, certainly we'll try and endeavour to launch by sort of mid-year.
Brilliant. So I think that is all of our questions for today. But that being said, if anybody does have any further questions for the team at Florcita, you can reach out to them via their Birchal profile. There is a message button which will put you in touch directly with the team. And if you do have any questions surrounding equity crowdfunding or how to invest through the platform, there is a chat bubble on the Birchal website, so you can get in touch with our support team as well. I want to say thank you so much, Pat and Louise, for your time and for such a great presentation, and for everybody for their amazing questions. It's been super insightful. And if you have not expressed interest in the offer so far, please head to the Birchal website to do so that you do get the first communications when the offer will go live next week as well.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Take care.